Hello, this is Chapter 13, Motivation and Performance. Our learning objectives: explain what motivation is and why managers need to be concerned about it. Number 2, describe from the perspectives of expectancy theory and equity theory what managers should do to have a highly motivated workforce. And number 3, explain how goals and needs motivate people and what kinds of goals are especially likely to result in high performance. Number 4, identify the motivation lessons that managers can learn from operant conditioning theory and social learning theory. And lastly, explain why and how managers can use pay as a major motivational tool. The manager's challenge. Qi Huang makes working for Boxed more than just a job. Which ways of managing employees will motivate them best? Treating employees well helps Boxed thrive in the highly competitive e-commerce space. What's the nature of motivation? Well, definitions are necessary here. Motivation is the psychological forces that determine the direction of a person's behavior in an organization, a person's level of effort, and a person's level of persistence. It explains why people behave the way they do in organizations. Direction. This is possible behaviors a person could engage in. Effort, how hard people work. And persistence, it refers to whether when faced with roadblocks and obstacles, people keep trying or they end up giving up. Intrinsically motivated behavior is behavior performed for its own sake. Extrinsically motivated behavior is behavior performed to acquire material or social rewards or to avoid punishment. Pro-socially motivated behavior is behavior performed to benefit or help others. Outcomes and inputs. An outcome is anything a person gets from a job or an organization: pay, job security, benefits, vacation time. An input is anything a person contributes to their job or organization, such as time, effort, skills, knowledge, work behaviors. In figure 13.1 here, we have something called the motivation equation. Inputs from organizational members, performance contributes to outcomes received by organizational members. Or inputs are comprised of what I indicated before in the previous slide. And performance contributes to organizational efficiency, organizational effectiveness, and attainment of organizational goals. And the outcomes received by organizational members include those items that I mentioned in previous slides, which includes pay, job security, benefits, vacation time, job satisfaction, autonomy, responsibility, a feeling of accomplishment, the pleasure of doing interesting work, or improving the lives or well-being of others. Expectancy theory. What is that? Well, it's the theory that motivation will be high when workers believe that high levels of effort lead to high performance, and that high performance leads to the attainment of desired outcome. And that was formulated by Victor H. Vroom in the 1960s, expectancy theory. In expectancy, a person's perception about the extent to which an effort and input results in a certain level of performance. Instrumentality is a person's perception about the extent to which performance at a certain level results in the attainment of outcomes. Valence is how desirable each of the variable outcomes from the job is to the person. In figure 13.2, expectancy, instrumentality, and valence. So you had effort, which leads to performance, which leads to outcome. And then the expectancy, instrumentality, and valence definitions occur. In figure 13.3, in the expectancy theory, expectancy is high. People perceive that if they try hard, they can perform at a high level. Instrumentality is high. People perceive that high performance leads to the receipt of certain outcomes. When valence is high, people desire the outcomes that result from high performance, and thus you get high motivation. Need theories. A need is a requirement or necessity for survival and well-being. Theories of motivation that focus on what needs people are trying to satisfy at work and what outcomes will satisfy those needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the hierarchy of needs is an arrangement of 5 basic needs that motivate behavior. Maslow proposed that the lowest level of unmet needs is the prime motivator and that only one level of needs is motivational at a time. So if we take a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we have the different ranges. We have the lowest level needs, above lowest level needs, medium level needs, below highest level, and then the highest level. And basically the highest level is self-actualization, below is esteem, medium is belongingness, above is safety, and the lowest is physiological needs. And you can read this at your leisure. Alderfer's ERG theory is the theory that 3 universal needs for existence, relatedness, and growth, ERG, constitute a hierarchy of needs and motivate behavior. It's proposed that needs at more than one level can be motivational at the same time. And in Alderfer's ERG theory, you have the lowest level, medium, and highest, existence, relatedness, and growth. Herzberg's motivation hygiene theory. This need theory distinguishes between motivator needs and hygiene needs and proposes that motivator needs must be met for motivation and job satisfaction to be high. Interesting work, autonomy, responsibility, the ability to grow and develop on the job, the sense of accomplishment and achievement help to satisfy motivator needs. Motivator needs relate to the nature of the work itself, autonomy, responsibility, interesting work. Hygiene needs are related to the physical and psychological context of the work, comfortable work environment, pay, security. McClelland's need for achievement, affiliation, and power. The need for achievement is the extent to which an individual has a strong desire to perform challenging tasks well and to meet personal standards for excellence. The need for affiliation is concerned about establishing and maintaining good interpersonal relations, being liked, and having the people around them to get along with each other. Also, the need for power is the desire to control or influence others. Equity theory is a theory of motivation that focuses on people's perceptions of the fairness of their work outcomes relative to their work inputs. Equity exists when a person perceives their outcome or input ratio to be equal to a reference ratio. In this table 13.3 equity theory, you can read the outcomes inputs as outcomes over inputs. Inequity. Underpayment inequity, the inequity that exists when a person perceives that their own outcome input ratio is less than the ratio of a referent. Overpayment inequity, the inequity that exists when a person perceives their own outcome input ratio is greater than the ratio of a referent. Equity and justice in organizations. Distributed justice is a person's perception of the fairness of the distribution of outcomes in an organization. Procedural justice is a person's perception of the fairness of the procedures that are used to determine how to distribute outcomes in an organization. Interpersonal justice, a person's perception of the fairness of the interpersonal treatment they receive from whoever distributes outcomes to them. Informational justice is a person's perception of the extent to which their manager provides explanation for decisions and the procedures used to arrive at them. Goal-setting theory is a theory that focuses on identifying the types of goals that are most effective in producing high levels of motivation and performance, and explaining why goals have these effects. Must be specific and difficult. Learning theories, theories that focus on increasing employee motivation and performance by linking the outcomes that employees receive to the performance of desired behaviors and the attainment of goals. Operant conditioning theory. Operant condition. People learn to perform behaviors that lead to desired consequences and learn not to perform behaviors that lead to undesired consequences. The 4 tools that managers can use: positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, punishment, and extinction. Operant conditioning tools includes positive reinforcement, gives people outcomes they desire when they perform organizationally functional behaviors. Negative reinforcement, eliminating or removing undesired outcomes when people perform organizationally functional behaviors. Extinction, curtailing the performance of a dysfunctional behavior by eliminating whatever is enforcing it. And then punishment, administering an undesired or negative consequence when dysfunctional behaviors occur. Avoiding side effects of punishment. Downplay the emotional element involved. Try to punish dysfunctional behaviors as soon as they occur, and try to avoid punishing someone in front of others. Organizational behavior modification is the systematic application of operant conditioning techniques to promote the performance of organizationally functional behaviors and discourage the performance of dysfunctional behaviors. In Figure 13.4, 5 steps in organizational behavior modification, also known as OB-MOD steps. Managers identify an important behavior. Managers measure the frequency with which the behavior is occurring. Managers determine if people know whether they should be performing the behavior and what consequences they will receive when they do perform it. Managers develop and apply a strategy entailing the use of positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, punishment, or extinction. Then managers measure the frequency of the behavior. Managers determine if the problem is solved or if it's not. Then managers maintain the behavior by continuing the use of the strategy. Another example, workers assemble laser printers. Each worker assembles an average of 10 printers a day. Workers know that they should assemble as many printers as they can per day while maintaining high quality. However, they receive the same hourly wage regardless of the number of printers they assemble. Positively reinforce workers such that they receive $5 for each defect-free printer they assemble instead of an hourly wage. Each worker assembles on average 14 printers a day. Problem solved. Maintain positive reinforcement. Social learning theory. Social learning theory postulates that a theory takes into account how learning and motivation are influenced by people's thoughts and beliefs and their observations of other people's behavior. It's vicarious learning, it's self-reinforcement, and also self-efficacy. Social learning theory with vicarious learning, it's also called observational learning. It occurs when a person becomes motivated to perform a behavior by watching another person perform the behavior and be positively reinforced for doing so. Learners should observe the model, accurately perceive the behavior, remember the behavior, have the skills and abilities needed to perform the behavior, and see or know that the model is positively reinforced for the behavior. Self-reinforcer, any desired or attractive outcome or reward that a person gives themselves for good performance. Self-efficacy is defined as a person's belief about their ability to perform a behavior successfully. Pay and motivation. Pay as a motivator, expectancy theory, instrumentality, the association between performance and outcomes must be high for motivation to be high. The needs theory is pay is used to satisfy many needs. Equity theory, pay is given in relation to inputs. Pay as a motivator is goal-setting theory. Pay is linked to attainment of goals. Learning theory, outcomes or pay are distributed upon performance of functional behaviors. Merit pay and performance. The merit pay plan is a compensation plan that bases pay on individual, group, or organization performance. In an individual plan, when an individual's performance, in this case sales, can be accurately measured. Salary increase or bonus. Employee stock option, a financial instrument that entitles the bearer to buy shares of an organization's stock at a certain price during a certain period of time or under certain conditions. The uses is to attract high-level managers and to motivate employee performance through ownership in the firm. I think employee stock options are an important component of compensation for companies. I have been the recipient of that And I can tell you, it's a very nice perk to have, particularly when you can make $25,000 in a matter of minutes, which I've happened to have done in the past. And it was actually during work hours, and the stock of the price of the company I was working for all of a sudden went up, and I acted very quickly, and I was able to make a quick $25,000 in a matter of minutes. So I definitely agree that employee stock options are a great motivator. Examples of merit pay plans. They include a group plan or an organization plan. It can be a piece rate pay, commission pay, and then organization-based merit plans can include a Scanlon plan and profit sharing. Warren Buffett. Investor Warren Buffett, along with others, commits to a philanthropic pledge as called the Giving Pledge. We were to use more than 1% of my claim checks on ourselves, neither our happiness nor our well-being would be enhanced. In contrast, the remaining 99% could have a huge effect on the health and welfare of others. I thank you for listening.